Did The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker HD get leaked for Nintendo Switch? Well, it did get leaked, but is it real? Is it fake? We talk about it today. Folks, welcome back to the Mario Matter, your favorite Nintendo podcast, episode 115, with your host, Nintendo YouTuber EmSwizzle. That's me. Today, it's a great day to discuss some Nintendo news, and who better to do that with than our guest today, Kenson. You know him, you love him a lot. He covers all sorts of gaming tech. He does gaming reviews. For example, if the PS5 Pro comes out, he's all over that. He does some Nintendo stuff as well. He's a great guy. We had a great conversation. He joins us today to talk about all sorts of news in the Nintendo world. Let's not delay it any further. Let's get to it.
Welcome to the Mario Matter, the #1 Nintendo podcast.
Kenson, welcome to the show. How are we doing?
I am doing pretty well, to be honest. Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, I'm excited about talking some Nintendo stuff.
For sure, man. I'm excited to have you on. Wanted to get you on for a while. I'm glad that we can do it here. We got a big little bunch of Nintendo news, and I'll go ahead and begin by reading off the first topic here. Then we can dive in. It's always a great time when Nintendo's suing somebody. It's, I mean, not for them, rather, but, you know, it's a classic, Nintendo move. And our first piece of news here has to do with Nintendo suing a streamer who emulated and pirated Nintendo games. So, the streamer's name is Every Game Guru, in case you've seen them around. I personally haven't, but I'll get your thoughts in a minute here. They streamed Nintendo games before release on YouTube, on Twitch, on TikTok, and he kept getting struck down by Nintendo. And then he emailed them and said, I can do this all day. This is kind of the short story here. And then he also encouraged viewers to pirate Nintendo games. How do we know that? Because Nintendo said it in the lawsuit. And Nintendo is seeking $150,000 per game that he pirated, and they claim that he pirated games at least 50 times, which would lead them to seek $7.5 million in damages. I mean, this might be a stupid question, Kevin. Do we think Nintendo's in the right here?
First off, obviously Nintendo has the rep when it comes to their legal side.
Sure.
And, there have been a lot of cases where they are absolutely not in the right in my mind. And this one, I think, blurs the line a little bit because, look, clearly poking the bear here, right?
Right.
Just first off, just the act of doing stuff where, it's one thing where we want to have the argument about whether or not emulation itself is legal, which it is, emulation is. But when you're doing stuff where it's like clearly ahead of time, pirated, leaked material, stuff where there's a little less room to wiggle on where you got the games you're playing, and then to actually poke Nintendo about it, I mean, kind of asking for it, I feel like in this particular situation, literally asking for it with the, this, I can do this all day thing. Yeah, it's rough. I don't like how Nintendo pursues legal action on stuff. And obviously with the number they're throwing around on this one, this is absolutely a make an example of kind of thing. Because look, at the end of the day, this guy encouraging piracy and doing that kind of stuff probably didn't even really move the needle on piracy, right? That is working the way that it's working, and people that are going to do it, and that's just how it is. And so the amount of money, I mean, this is clearly just Nintendo trying to really stomp their foot down and make an example out of this guy, which that does suck, to the extent it's going to happen, because especially based on the track record what he's doing, it's not looking too hot.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's definitely hey, let's make an example out of this guy, and hopefully it'll stop as a whole. I like to keep things as PG as possible on the podcast, and I still will, but this is the biggest case of F around and find out. I mean, yeah. This guy's finding out here.
Very much.
Very much so, I can tell you that. Not really much to dive into there. Just a weird story. Not a weird story, but one that you don't see very often. We wish the best to him and hope he can come back. I don't know where else to go here, but somewhere else that we can go is kind of foreshadowing into a bigger piece of news that we have coming up soon, we can dive into this small piece of news that then leads into a bigger piece of news. Our next piece of news here is relating to Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, the Switch game that not many are excited for because they might already own it twice, once on the Wii, once on the 3DS. Kevin, are you excited for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD? I don't know. We kind of have it, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have it. Like, I'm of the mind where, look, am I as excited for a port or a re-release of something as I am for, like, something that's brand new and looks even shinier? Like, yeah, obviously I would like a brand new Donkey Kong game, which I don't think this port happening is something that, like, directly counteracts, right? The resources involved are not the same. The people involved are not always the same. And so at the end of the day, where it's like, yeah, I've played this before. Yeah, I had it back on the Wii. I actually never got around to picking it up on the 3DS, so I have a little bit more of a gap compared to anyone that picked up both. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, I am excited to play it and check it out again. Like, I am going to do it. There is something I think too, as annoying as this is as a user, and I wish there was just a better plan moving ahead as far as forward compatibility goes. So we're not in this situation where it's like, okay, cool, this game that I really like has been ported for the 4th time. I love Resident Evil 4. The 16th time I bought it. But like, there is something to, I have it on the current thing that I'm actively using. Like, yeah, I could like break out and hook up my Wii right now if I wanted to and play that. But it's also nice just having a version to play on the go with my Switch and then dock it and play on TV if I want. So like, I like the convenience of it. I'm probably going to pick it up, but I absolutely do get the like, there's also just this general, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? Like fatigue with ports, right?
Sure.
Some people are just like, they only want new all the time. And like, I get that. I understand that. But I don't know, like, I like being able to play it on my Switch. That sounds neat.
Yeah, for sure. Before I get to the news here with the game, I want to ask, talking about the game itself, do you think that the $60 price tag is fair?
I don't love it personally. I mean, we've seen this with a lot of other companies where, you know, when they do a re-release like this, it isn't always at full price. It may not still be a low price, but, you know, maybe they'll target $50 instead of doing 60 or 70. Maybe there's an upgrade path if there is something from a previous system, like PlayStation's been doing that, where all the PS5 re-releases, if you have the original game, you just pay $10, upgrade, you're good to go. Nintendo's not giving any kind of path like that, right? Like, you are just paying the $60 every time. I don't love it. You know, it's one of those things where ultimately it is a new release, sure, but it is an older game. It is something that we've played before, as you noted, twice, potentially in some people's cases. You know, I don't think it should necessarily be like $15-$20, but like something below MSRP. But the thing is, it's Nintendo, and like, it's gonna sell. You know, I feel like we've done this dance every single time they have a release like this. I think the biggest upset I really saw was when it was happening for Skyward Sword, because that was a situation where, you know, you compare it to the Wii version, it's like, well, in the Wii, I got, you know, the special edition one where it was the same price and I got a Wiimote that was gold with it. And it's like, yeah, that's great. That's cool. That's not, they're just releasing an MSRP now. I don't know what to tell you. Inflation. It's what they're doing, you know?
I would have liked a $50 price tag, something cheaper, but the news here, I've been putting it off for a while. We can dive into this. They revealed pre-order bonuses for the game in the US and the UK. Now, so far for the US, if you pre-order it at GameStop, you get a Donkey Kong DK barrel that is used to hold pencils and pens and things of the sort. I mean, are we excited about this? I mean, well, first of all, I like my pre-order bonuses. I love to get them wherever. Are you a pre-order bonus guy? This is like my jam here.
Yeah, I used to be a lot more, and like, I keep my eyes out. If I see something that like really screams to me, like, okay, yeah, no, I'm gonna have to figure this out. Like, I'll have to pre-order this. You know, I will say in this particular case, it's like a little brokenhearted on it because the item itself looks cool. I like the idea. That's like really, I love like fun, weird niche stuff like that. Like, if you just give me like a sticker or a little collectible card, it's like, all right, cool, neat, I got a thing. But when it's like, oh, like that's a functional thing I can put up my desk and use, I eat that stuff up. So like, conceptually, I love that pre-order bonus. Breaks my heart it's at GameStop. I make it a point of like I don't really mess with them anymore. I don't like shopping there. I don't like supporting a lot of stuff they do. And so like, probably gonna miss out on this one, but got to stand by it. So
I'm the same. The thing, not to bash GameStop, but like the reason I stopped going there is because I just didn't like how I would buy, like, they had this like buy one get one free Switch game deal for like $60. So you would pay 60, you get two $60 Switch games. It was great. And this is so like little, but I just don't like this. They were both advertised as new, and like they were both used. Like that's not new. I didn't like that. So I was like, you know what?
Yeah, you probably got like
many times. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably got like shelf copies where they're like, oh, it's never been bought, it's never been played. We just opened it to put the case on the floor, and it's like that's open.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I get it. I worked there for a time, so I don't want to get like too in depth stuff. But like,
yeah, sure.
It's just that's how that goes, and it's frustrating.
Sure, yeah. But here's where I'm upset. Like, no matter where that pre-order bonus is, if you're in the UK, which I believe both of us are not, because you know, I just know these things, I guess, you can get up to 4 pre-order bonuses. So if you buy the game on the Nintendo UK site, you get the DK barrel. Wait. No, that's wrong. Sorry. You get the Kong pin set, which is like, you know, in the game, of course, you can collect the 4 letters throughout each level. Kong spells out Kong. You can get those 4 letters in a pin set, and also a Donkey Kong microfiber cloth. A bit of a weird one, but you do get that for free if you buy the game. If you pay extra, then you can get a Donkey Kong pouch and then the, you know, DK pencil barrel. That's really cool stuff. These kinds of things make me wish I lived in the UK, you know? Like,
yeah,
man.
I feel like there's been an uptick in, I mean, like, it's cool for the other regions, right? Because I also feel like historically it's been a long thing that like Japan and the US always get the coolest stuff. So there's a part of me that's like, no, it's great. You guys are getting this cool thing. Awesome. But there's been a few in a row now with Nintendo, because I want to say, I forget if it was UK or Canada, but there was the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door where you'd get the actual like little diorama set.
Yeah.
For like $10 more. And that was not available in the US at all. So like there's like, I would like that too. That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just doing that a little more often right now. I don't know if that has to do with like local offices or just logistics or what. But it's always like a little but that's neat. Like, why can't okay, I'll just fly to the UK for like a day, pick this up, and like,
yeah, exactly. Or just like import it. I was actually thinking about like importing it, but at the end of the day, that would be like, well, it's $60 for the game. Then whatever it costs to do that, it's not really that worth it, I feel. I mean,
you got to be really into it and excited for that. Like, that Kong set has to mean something to you to throw down that much, you know?
That freaking microfiber cloth. I'm going to import that. But this gets us into our next piece of news. I mean, it must have been Donkey Kong week or something, because Nintendo aired a Direct. Wow, we love when they do Directs. It just wasn't the one that we wanted, but they held a Donkey Kong Country Super Nintendo World Direct for the Super Nintendo World in Japan. So basically, they're opening up a new Donkey Kong Country area in Super Nintendo World, and they gave us a tour of the place before it opens in December. And I'll quickly run through the details and save you 10 minutes of watching it. However, we will, you know, talk about our thoughts after I run through this here. There's a rhythm game. Well, first of all, the whole place looks really cool, but like in specifics, there's a whole rhythm game that you can play with 2 other people. There's special food, including the Donkey Kong Sundae and the Donkey Kong hot dog. I would love to try that. You can take photos with Donkey Kong. You can buy special merch there. And there's even a DK Donkey Kong ride. Kevin, you told me that you watched this, actually a little bit before we recorded, so the thoughts must be fresh. I will ask you, what did you think of the Direct and the whole place itself?
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. I got to say, actually, so I went to Japan at the start of this year. It was my first time visiting the country, and I went to Super Nintendo World. So, like, it's still fresh in my mind, that layout. So them doing the initial opening of like walking down, I remember going down those steps into the kind of Mario area, and you can see in the distance the golden statue for Donkey Kong Land, and like we knew it was under construction, but you just can't go over there yet. So seeing this video afterwards where they kind of walk through and then go to the entrance, it was just really cool to me, because I know that layout now, like I've been there. And honestly, it looks cool. Like, I think the Universal stuff, it's not always like the most over the top, like thrill ride type stuff, but it's just fun. Like, there's just a lot of like great energy with how they set things up and how they pack the area. I think one of the things that really resonated with me the most, like just seeing what they showed off, was the rhythm game, because you can just see Miyamoto having fun with it. Like, I feel like that's one of those guys where like it's not just him having to put on an act for the sake of like, oh, we got to get this recording done. And maybe there's a little bit in that. I get it. I understand. But like, he's also still just going all in and having fun playing the game. And so that was just really neat to see. Me personally, when it comes to theme parks like this, though, my big thing, even though it's not always actually the best, I love food.
Yeah.
I love checkout stuff. So I'm already seeing that, you know, the special sundae, and then the hot dog, which I was trying to figure out what entirely was on it. They were talking about like adding an avocado sauce to it.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I want to try it. I want to know. That was one of the things that stood out to me.
I love any sort of Nintendo food. Fun fact, I've never actually been to any Super Nintendo World. I want to go, but like I'm not making the trip to California. I mean, I personally don't live close to there.
Right.
I'm like on the other side totally of the country. And then Japan's far, of course.
Yeah.
Hopefully in Florida, when they open that one, I'll be able to go, but they don't have Donkey Kong Country. Either way, my favorite part was probably the little bit that they showed of the ride, because they didn't show all of it, of course, but from what you could see, they showed you like going up, like you know how any sort of roller coaster likes to start. Like, you know, you go up and you're like in the Donkey Kong barrel, and they cut it off right around there. But I guess you shoot out of it. I don't imagine that you're going very fast, because I believe Miyamoto said, you know, it's great for people not fond of roller coasters or something like that.
Yeah.
So it does look really cool though. What do you think of that part there?
Oh yeah, that was cool. I am very curious to see how that one actually works out, and I'm also curious actually, like once, because I think they said that when Florida opens, it's going to have the Donkey Kong section as well.
Oh really? I missed that.
I think they did mention that. In which case, I'm very curious how that ride is going to be like comparatively at both parks, because I will say that again, after having gone there at the start of this year, just in general, like most rides are toned down. Like just in like if you go to like Disneyland and ride a ride that's like here in California, the Japan one is not going to be as intense. Like they just intentionally like, nah, it's going to be a little slower, not go quite as like, you know, jerky around as much. And so I'm curious how that's going to compare for the Donkey Kong one, because like, you know, if you've done any of the rides at Universal, sorry, I just realized you said you haven't been able to go yet. None of the rides are that intense. Like they have like the Mario Kart one, and that one like is a fun AR thing, but the ride itself, you're basically on a pretty slow moving track. From what I could see of that little teaser, I feel like Donkey Kong has a chance at being like the most intense, but that's a pretty low bar to clear.
Yeah.
And so I'm very curious. Like I want to see what that actual full ride looks like. I want to see what that takeoff looks like, because they show how like the acceleration picks up once you go through the barrel launcher. And then I'm just really curious, like if you go to the one in the US and go to the one in Japan, is there going to be a difference in like what that max speed and stuff is going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Hopefully you or I or anyone listening can get to go at some point. It's going to be nice. But in general, whenever I see, Nintendo tweet, tune in for it's either going to be really great or really not exciting. Like tune in for a direct of some kind. Just on the topic of like directs alone, we're in kind of a weird spot for Nintendo. Switch 2's on the horizon. I want to get your whole thoughts on everything now. Let's start here. Direct. Do we see any other Switch focused directs? Totally like, changing topics here, but like just want to get your take on this.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I mean, a lot of it comes down to, like, here's the thing, right? Nintendo is openly talking about their next system, whether that's the Switch 2 or whatever. But they're also playing very coy with, like, what that actual timeline looks like. They're not really getting into any specifics yet. And so whether or not we get, like, a Switch-focused direct relies a lot on just what that timeline is for when that next system is coming out. If it's in, like, April, probably not. If it's in, like, June, there's room for a traditional Switch-focused one, especially because like there's still quite a bit of stuff coming up, right? Like we already talked about how there's Donkey Kong Country Returns. We know they're doing the Metroid Prime 4. There's numerous other ports and updates and things releasing. They randomly announced Xenoblade Chronicles X just like on a Wednesday morning. I forget what day it was, but like there's stuff left for the Switch, and I think Nintendo is not planning on like shifting that focus or direction until they're a couple months out from the next system, and they're going to go all in on like, okay, Switch is still supported. There's backwards compatibility in the next thing, but now we're talking about the next thing.
Yep.
So yeah, I think like a regular Switch focused direct. There's room for one. It just depends on what the actual timeline for the next system is.
Speaking of that next system, final thing that I'll ask here.
Yeah.
When do you see that getting revealed?
So here, one. Yeah, no, it's a tough one. Here's the thing, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people, and like, look, I understand directs have been used very well as like a format, and they've gotten people excited. Nintendo has never really used them for hardware, like at all. That's just not a thing they do. It's usually software focused or event focused, like with the theme parks or when they were doing the movies. I honestly think that when it comes to like announcing this thing, we're just going to wake up to like a reveal, maybe a tease, and then a follow-up actual big thing, but it's not going to be a direct. It's just going to be like, here's the stuff. Like they even did that with the Switch, right? Like the Switch was a very kind of just like, we're announcing this thing now. You know, we're not going to build up to a direct. We're not going to announce like a big thing you have to pay attention to. Maybe you get a teaser video and then the next day is like, here it is.
Yes.
And like, I don't think it's going to be this year. I know we were having rumor videos back to back to back everywhere that was like, this is it. This is the week. We're going to get it. This post over on this website said so. And it's like, yeah, sure. Like, I honestly, like, I know there's, I forget who said it, but there was a line on the record saying like, oh, we're not worried about the next system eating into Switch sales this holiday season, which I'm sure is partially true. But also, like, they're not going to make a big deal about it right now while the holiday season's going around, in my mind. I mean, you know, I think we're going to talk a little bit about some Black Friday stuff soon. And like, that's the thing, right? Like, why cut off all the stuff people are going to buy during the holiday season when, if you make a big deal out of like, oh, by the way, in 4 months, the really cool thing is actually coming out though, you know, like why do that? Like, it just seems like an unnecessary shoot yourself in the foot. So, you know, I don't see it happening this year. And again, it really comes down to when it's actually releasing. I think first quarter of next year is pretty likely. The only way I see it going further past that is if the actual release date for the system is way farther down the line than a lot of people are hoping, right? Like if it ends up being a September release or something, then like, yeah, we might not know about it till April or May. But my gut right now says like releases Q2, April, May, in that kind of area. And we find out about it in January, February. Based on nothing but vibes. Like this is not, you know, I don't have an uncle at Nintendo. I didn't see some leaked post somewhere. It's just like, this is how it feels right now. I don't know. We'll revisit it in 3 months and see where we're at.
It seems like that early next year slot is like the best time to announce it, because even if you announce it now, whether you think it's not going to have an effect on holiday sales, whether big or small, it definitely will. Like someone's going to be waiting out for the Switch 2 if you announce it right now, you know, before Black Friday and Christmas and everything. I used to be team 2024. Now I've shifted to 2025. I, too, think it'll be revealed somewhere in the January, February. I mean, it has to be, you know, before March, they said, but I think I would bet on February. This sucks, Kevin, because I change my opinion every single week. I think last week I said January. I have made up my mind. I think February, because that's when they would hold their directs and stuff. Not that it'll be in a direct form, but they like to do things in that month. So that's my newest prediction. That'll probably change by next week as well. But that's where I stand right now. February, and then I think, you know, as you said, a release or something, April, May, June. That's a pretty long timeline there. But if I had to guess, I would say May. Yeah. May would be a nice time.
Q2, sure. Somewhere in there. Yeah. And hey, nothing wrong with changing your opinion often when you just learn more things or have time to think about it. Like that's just, you know, that's a good thing.
But the only thing is, it's like every single week. Well, like for me, it's like every week I'm different. I'm like, it's this year. No, it's next year. January, February. It's always different. But something
2023, we missed it. It was snuck in.
But something that doesn't change every single week, because why would it, are Nintendo's Black Friday deals, folks. It's coming up at the time of recording. It is November the 13th. And we have Black Friday in what? Just about 2 weeks here? Is that math? Yeah, it's that the math is mathing.
Math is mathing.
2 weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days from recording. And Nintendo has revealed their Black Friday deals. There's a bunch here, so I'm going to read through them pretty quickly because it's not the most exciting stuff to hear about. But if you do hear a deal that you know you want to snag, feel free. I'll leave some links down below. In terms of games, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is $50, which makes it $20 off. Mario Maker 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Pikmin 4, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and Switch Sports are all $40 each, which makes them $20 off. Mario Odyssey and Pikmin 1 plus 2 are all $30 each. Okay, sorry, I paused there because I was confused. I was confused because Pikmin 1 is already $30, but I was confused. You get both of them for $30, making those 15 each. Anyways, then after that, the controllers and accessories that are on sale, the neon red and blue Joy-Con controllers and the Switch Pro controller are all $20 off. And a Tears of the Kingdom Switch carrying case and screen protector are $10 off. Finally here, console bundles. A Switch, normal with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and a 1-year Switch Online bundle is $300, so it's the same price for a normal Switch, but you get Mario Kart and Switch Online included. And if you want that same deal in a Switch OLED, it'll be $350. The total value of that is somewhere like $400 because, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is $60. You're saving money there. And then finally, to end this all off, the Switch Lite, the Hyrule Edition Switch Lite that came out with Echoes of Wisdom is $210, $40 off. While I catch my breath after reading all of that, are there any of these deals, Kevin, that you might be picking up? I mean, it seems like we have a lot of these things already, but, anything catching your eye?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if you've been on top of releases and stuff, you already are covered on most of these things, except maybe the themed carrying case and stuff. I'm not picking any of this stuff up just because I am up to date on most of these things. I will say, I feel like deal-wise, look, Nintendo deals are always like not the craziest. Like, it's like, all right, cool, you save some money, but it's not going to be any kind of like doorbuster crazy sale. I feel like they've been overstocking their special editions lately, but the Switch Lite Hyrule Edition, I feel, is like an interesting one just because it's, okay, just over $200. Yeah, it's a light. You can't dock it, sure. But like, as a relatively cheaper option to pick up for a kid, especially a cool looking one, because it's the gold with the logo and everything, that seems cool. Like, seems like a cool choice to me. I feel like everyone else who's like really excited about an OLED or a regular one is probably thinking a little bit about the Switch 2 at this point, or is already invested. I'm sure there's going to be people that pick that up. But especially if it's like a single kid situation, because obviously if you have multiple kids, maybe you want to be able to dock and do the local multiplayer, whatever. But the Switch Lite to me seems like an actually like kind of interesting deal, especially because I'm just a sucker for the Zelda design. They really want to hit that sales goal, man. Like, it's so close to the number one selling system of all time. And this is just all one push to be like, come on, buy some Switches, do it.
Yeah, and then next year, if Switch 2 is out, they'll probably be like, That Zelda one will probably be like $150. I'm kidding. It probably won't be that low, but I think that it will become the number one best-selling system. Do you think so?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially at this rate. Like if the next system would come out sooner, like maybe not, but you figure like, okay, sure, we've got the holiday season going on right now, which is going to have a boost in sales. There's going to be people like, and even once the next system comes out, people are still going to buy Switches, right? Like there are people that buy PS4s right now with PS5 out. Like, that's just like, there's always going to be that market, especially as there's like, people trying to sell overstock, old systems, have it at a discounted price. There's going to be that kind of final surge and then tapering off as time goes by. So yeah, I think it has a very, very good chance of becoming the number one. It got very close. I don't have those numbers on the top of my head right now. I've looked it up a few times, but like the gap is getting very small between it and PS2. So I think it's going to happen.
It'll be cool to watch. My last little spiel here. Do you remember, Kevin? Because I know that you've been around Nintendo for a long time. Do you remember when they would like release special edition consoles for Black Friday? Like they had a special 3DS, like a white and a black one, the new 3DS, not the XL, just the new one. I miss when they did like special things for Black Friday. Now it's just white Switch OLED bundle. Do you feel that way, or is it just me?
I mean, I'd go back and forth, right? Because there's that aspect of me that's like, oh man, FOMO sucks like so hard. Like it's neat, but at the same time, it's like, do I really need to be feeling this like pressure to spend money to buy another system that I already have, but in a color that's only for this season? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, there is that feeling. I understand. There's that hype moment where it's like, that is such a cool thing. But when you take a step back, there's also the part that's like, this is kind of messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, it's a mixed feeling thing, because I 100% get you. Like, I understand that feeling of like, I miss seeing cool stuff drop during a season like this. But but it's definitely better for my wallet.
For sure.
Especially because like I was saying, like these other special editions they've been doing lately, they've been like oversupplying them. I mean, how long was the Animal Crossing Switch just like on store shelves? And clearly the Zelda one, right? Like that came out start of September. Here we are basically 2 months later, and it's still like just around.
Yeah, still there.
You know, they have them to list. So yeah, it's interesting how, you know, they're doing special editions still, but it definitely feels a little less hectic, a little less calling to you.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point. I never like really thought about it. Like, wow, they're actually doing my wallet a favor. So thankfully, you know, that's a great perspective. I'm going to carry that with me now. I do miss those days, but those are the Black Friday deals. Maybe I pick something. I mean, I think I have most of the things here. I don't really need to. But if you out there can pick something up from that, that's a win for me. But now, we have not covered all of our Nintendo news yet. There's one big piece of news that we'll dive into now, and that is Zelda Wind Waker HD. I'm not saying it happened, but there's heavy rumors out there suggesting that the game has leaked for Nintendo Switch. Let's talk about it right now. Folks, rumor has it The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD has leaked for Nintendo Switch, and I'll read you the details, and then we'll talk about whether or not we actually believe this or not. It's just the biggest piece of news. We got to talk about it. So, this has leaked. The source here is via a Russian retailer called VideoIGR.net. By the way, I'm going to credit whoever brought this piece of news up. I'll put them on screen right now. I apologize. I don't have their name here on my notes, but all credit to you for finding this. The game is listed as Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker HD for the Switch, and it has a placeholder release date of December 31st, 2024. Of course, it'll not actually release on New Year's Eve. It's a placeholder for maybe it's suggesting that the game will come out this year at some point. It is worth noting, though, that Nintendo has cut ties with Russian stores. They've stopped doing business with them, so how would they know this kind of thing? That kind of makes it a bit sketch. And people are hoping it's true, but we have seen this in the past. Somebody on Reddit brought up how Best Buy one time listed copies of Metroid Prime Trilogy, I think for the Switch. They listed that one time, and it didn't actually happen. So take it with a grain of salt. But Kevin, let's get your spiel here. Do we believe this? Do we want this, of course? Do we think it's real? Anything? Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, 100% fake. Like in my mind.
Yes.
I'm always on the skeptical side. I don't believe anything until I see it from the official source, or it has to be some very thoroughly double checked actual journalism for me to be oh, okay, yeah, this is actually happening. Like when there was all the Switch OLED rumors everywhere, or Switch Pro at the time. I feel like the only time I actually believed something was when there was an order about a bunch of OLED screens were ordered by Nintendo. That's weird. So it's all right, cool. So they're probably doing an OLED screen. I believe that. And so when it comes to this stuff, man, like you said yourself, right? There's been past leaks similar where retailers put something up and either it's a weird miscommunication, it's some kind of error, it's someone intentionally messing around, especially in this case where, again, as you noted, they've cut ties with Russian retailers. The thing I actually in and of itself, without even putting that context in, the fact that they have the placeholder of 12/31/24, traditionally, if you're going to have a placeholder date, it's at least of that year. Usually you're not looking past, if it's going to be in 25, you would probably put 12/31/25, or 1/1. It's usually the end of the year or the first day. So the fact that they aimed for 24, which we have 6 weeks of left, 7 weeks of left. That's just that kind of out of nowhere shadow drop. I just do not see Nintendo doing. I mean, it'd be cool. I would be excited if that happened, but there's just nothing that would make me believe that's true possibility. And the other thing too is that people have been asking for this. People have been asking for Wind Waker HD on the Switch since basically the Switch came out. As soon as we knew that Wii ports were a thing that were happening a lot, or Wii U ports were a thing that were happening a lot, we're still getting them now with Xenoblade Chronicles X. That has been one of the most demanded things. And I feel like it has to happen at some point, whether it's marketed for this Switch or for the next thing. But not like this.
Yeah. Not this way.
Yeah. I feel like Nintendo loves, like, especially ports, I feel like they have so much stuff just in their back pocket, and they just wait till it's like, hey, this month's kind of dead. Can we drop something?
Yeah.
Because that was even the thing with, like, the Metroid Prime remaster, right? Like, the first one. Like, a lot of, at least, you know, industry talk said that, like, that had been done and ready for quite a while before it was actually announced. And so I think that's the thing with Nintendo, is that they have a lot of these ports and stuff having been worked on for a while, and they're just like, all right, this month's looking a little slow. We should maybe drop something.
Yeah, because if I recall correctly, like when that game came out, there was like nothing for February. I don't think in 2023.
Yeah.
I think it was like, oh, let's just throw that in there. But yeah, for me, you're asking me here. If someone's asking me, I think it's fake. And there's a lot of reasons why. Lots of reasons apart from what we noted here with them cutting ties with you know, Russian outlets. My biggest thing here is if you look at the picture, and this can be a totally, you know, placeholder cover art. My biggest problem is if you Google Zelda The Wind Waker HD cover art for the Switch, not the Wii U one, that image they've used for their website is a fan-made cover art that you can find on Google right now. You know, that could be a placeholder cover art while they're waiting for the real thing, but I don't really buy that. Now, the other piece of evidence here is Nintendo, big or small, I was told this by Alex from Nintendo Life, likes to have something for December, big or small. Last year, it was the Pokemon DLC. This year, it's pretty small, but I believe they are publishing Fitness Boxing 3. Very small. You're not going to go overkill in December. And if there's a game scheduled for November, we should know about it by now. Like, this whole thing just gets shut down. Like, the idea that this will be a 2024 release doesn't sit right with me here. Now, listen, I mean, Wind Waker for Switch, it should happen. I would like it to happen. Same with Twilight Princess. I think at this point, you just save those two for Switch 2, you know? And, like, make it a selling point almost.
Yeah.
You know?
I've actually had the thought of whether or not, because like one of the things I've liked speculating about is like whenever the next system comes out, what does that launch library look like? You know, what series could we see revisited or picked up? And well, certainly Zelda always has the opportunity for things like side games, spin-offs, or third-party collaborations. Something that feels like a very easy, like, get that in the launch lineup right away is, oh, by the way, we finally have Wind Waker and maybe even Twilight Princess as well. Like, here they are on the system, and as part of Switch 2, they're hitting 4K or whatever. Like, whatever they end up having the sales pitch for the system be. But like, I feel like that makes sense to me as far as a time to really just drive home, like, hey, these big classics are finally back. And maybe it's cross-platform, maybe it's not, maybe it is a regular Switch game that comes out in the next 3 months, 4 months, who knows? But even if this were to happen, I don't think the people posting this supposed, I don't think this retail listing is at all linked to actual knowledge.
Do you see, though, like, I guess this ever, like, do you think that they have Wind Waker just done like it's one of those games like Metroid Prime Remastered?
I mean, I have no like official knowledge on that.
Sure.
Like, I wouldn't. No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, like that wouldn't surprise me. Like, sure. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if most of the like I wouldn't be surprised if Xenoblade Chronicles X, which they just announced, like if that wasn't like done like a couple years back. Like there's just some, well, that one is a little more heavily remastered. It's not just like a straight port, but like especially the ones that are ports, like yeah, they've been. I'm sure a lot of these have been either worked on to some extent or even were completed, and they're just waiting to fill out areas when they need to. Is what I think they do.
I would love this to be true, but I'll end it off with this, like. How are you with, I'm just trying to like pick your brain. Like this is a fun little, when you see leaks like this, like, do you just write them off immediately? Do you ever like look into them and like, you know, see if they're real? Like, are you reading every leak and rumor out there?
I'm not reading every leak and rumor out there. I usually like, look, I'll give, especially if it's something that's really compelling to me, I will give it a second glance. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every time there's anything that seems remotely logical for Switch 2, like I'm going to double check and like look at what I can find. But I definitely, like, I personally always err on the side of skepticism, like when I can. Like sometimes the hype gets me. I'm not going to lie. There have been times where I like buy into something a little faster than I should because it's something that I personally want so bad that I'm like, I'm believing it right now. It's got to happen. Make it true. But like normally a lot of this stuff, I tend to like, whenever I see this kind of stuff, my brain just immediately goes like, no. Like it just, I just don't see it. And I've absolutely been wrong in situations like that. Like there's been stuff that, you know, I've been super skeptical of throughout the entire time and that ends up being real. And I go like, all right, it was real.
Yeah.
I would rather be skeptical of something and then find out it's real and be pleasantly surprised than to like put my whole heart into, yes, this has to be a thing that's happening. And then as soon as reality does not match like my hype up, whether it's because it's not real at all, or it's not what I built it up in my head to be, or it's not what I thought it was going to be, like that's such a worse position to be in. And like, I think I did that to myself enough in like my teens and 20s that like now I'm just riding the news until it releases, man. Like I'll take what comes out. I'll take what's real.
My point on it is kind of hard because I've loved, you know, Nintendo all my life, but I've never like really been into like reading bits of news until a couple of years ago. And my thing is all the leaks that I see just happen to be somewhat real. Like or most of them anyway. So I saw that the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch was maybe a thing. It released. I saw that the Mario OLED was a thing. It released. I'm like used to seeing leaks be true. So when I see this, of course I have to think it's fake because it's pretty sketchy. But there's a part of me where I can't turn it off. It's like, man, what if it's real? Because I've just seen too many times where leaks actually have come true. And of course I've seen it where they haven't come true. But something in me just wants to believe it, but there's absolutely no way. This is not real, I don't think. But Wind Waker, yeah.
We'll find out in 2 to 3 months. We will know.
Yeah, that's true. We will know. We will know. But folks, it is time to get to the next segment. Your favorite segment, the Answering Your Questions segment. Or that's Kevin, it used to be called the Answering Your Questions segment. Now it's called the Question Block segment. It's the Q&A part of the podcast. I keep calling it the Answering Your Question. It's now time to get to the Question Block segment where we answer your questions about Nintendo, about us. Let's go ahead. Let's get to it. Folks, you've made it to the Question Block segment, not the Answering Your Questions segment, but it is kind of the same thing, where me and Kevin answer your questions you asked us throughout the week. I ask you on my YouTube community tab, which you can see if you are subscribed to my channel. I'll leave it down below. I post on there, or you can join the Discord server link down below, where you can ask us questions to answer. You can put them in there throughout the week, and then we take some of them and answer them on the show. And our first question comes from Rick119, who asks, with the Switch 2 on the horizon, what is it about the console you're most interested in? The leaked USB-C port on the top, the Joy-Cons? Let us know. Kevin, I will begin with you.
I think what I'm most... I get excited about stuff I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So yes, there was the physical build leak that might be real. There's a lot of stuff that's pointing towards like that might actually be like, yes, how the physical design is. And that stuff is cool. I'm most excited to see like what the system OS looks like. Because Nintendo's been in this weird space where like they tried going really over the top fancy with the Wii U and there were problems because it took forever to load anything. Like you would just like open the options menu and you'd be there for 30 seconds waiting for it to go up. And so for the Switch, they like hard overcorrected, right? Where it's just the most bare bones, straightforward, like you have a white theme, you have black theme. That is it. There is no, we're not giving you themes. We're not giving you different designs. It's a line you go through and you can open up settings if you need to. Like it's just the most bare bones thing they can do. And I hope the next system just goes a little fancier, you know, like I get it. Yeah. Don't go overboard, but like I would love to see just a little more personality brought back into the UI experience, a little more personalization. I really hope they do bring back something akin to themes, or at least like just a little more way to personalize the design. So that's what I'm most excited about. I want to see like what this thing looks like when you turn it on, like that. Like by most accounts, the next system is going to be a fairly safe upgrade. We're probably not going to get some crazy new unique gimmick unless it is something that's software based and not hardware. And so that's what I want to see. Like I want to see this thing on.
I loved the whole Wii U interface. Like whenever you turned it on, it just felt so lively. Now the Switch, quite the opposite. That's a good point. I think what I want to see is it's kind of like what you just said, how it might be a safe upgrade. I kind of want to see how they plan to make this not a Wii U situation where it's like, oh, it might be the same thing. I want to see, of course, it's multiple answers for one. I'm going to combine it into one answer. I want to see how they make it not a Wii U situation. By that, I mean, I want to see what the name is. Are you calling it Switch 2? Are you calling it the Nintendo Fun Time? Are you calling it, whatever? I want to see how it looks. If it looks very different, it probably won't. It's going to be a Switch iteration, but I just want to see what you're doing to make it a brand new console. Of course, maybe we can't call it brand new. It's a Switch, but you don't want to make it exactly like the previous Switch. I kind of just want to see what makes it stand out, what makes it fresh.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Next question. Yep.
But before that, let me pick your brain on this real quick, just because that is a big thing people go back and forth on. Is do you think it's called Switch 2? What do you think Nintendo's going to call it? Just general vibe. I think that's the smartest thing, just because we're calling it Switch 2 right now. I think if you call it Switch 2, it gets the whole message across that it is a brand new Switch, kind of like how PS2, PS3, it's a brand new thing. I think, it's the name that every article uses, every YouTuber uses. It's all already out there. I think calling it Switch 2 is probably the strongest. If you call it the Switch, here's the risk though. As you'll know, Wii U, is it still a Wii? Is it a Switch accessory? If you use the same name, you're questioning what it actually is. I think Switch 2, is probably safe. What do you think? I'm hard opposite. A lot of people have been banging the drum that's got to be Switch 2, and
yeah,
I 100% agree. Logically, that makes so much sense. This is Nintendo. Nintendo has always pivoted in weird directions when no one expects them to. Even the Switch itself, no one really fully knew what was going on with that direction, and a lot of people were even skeptical of it until it released and then made crazy amounts of money. I could be wrong, and maybe they end up going with Switch 2. I feel like the fact that everyone's already running with that name is all the more reason for Nintendo to be no, we're not calling it that. I feel like for every YouTube video that goes up with Switch 2 in the title, Nintendo is just 0.5% more no, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I know a really popular one that I want to say I've heard beat 'em ups yell this one the most is calling it Super Switch. I believe that approach more in general, just because, especially when it comes to Nintendo's past of doing direct upgrades like that, there's always some kind of name that implies better, newer, whatever. Wii and Wii U is weird because what does U mean? Right? When you go from Wii, oh, it's us and you, it's cute. It doesn't sell anything. Game Boy to Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Better, newer. Nintendo to Super Nintendo. There's, DS to 3DS because of the 3D element. That was a fun play on stuff, but it's also selling the feature right away. And so I feel I don't know if necessarily Super Switch is the answer, but that in my mind makes more sense as far as Nintendo logic goes. I see them doing some kind of name play on yes, we're putting Switch in there, but this is better Switch,
Yeah.
Because the big thing with Wii U wasn't just it people thought it was just the tablet somehow, and that was such a mess. And there was a whole lot else going on with that system aside from that marketing mishap, but that was a big part of it.
Yeah, and people we had Wii. I'm blanking here. For example, everything had Wii in it. Wii Music, Wii Sports, the Wii drawing tablet, Wii accessories, Wii Wheel, Wii everything. Wii U just sounds as you're saying, just the tablet, like a new Wii accessory. So didn't work out. It's gonna be interesting, and it's probably going to happen sooner than we think. Not sooner than we think, but January, February is going to be here before we know it. It's going to be interesting. But our next question comes from Fort Worth, Texas, who asks, would you rather have an early build of the next Smash Bros. Game or an early build of the next Pokemon game? Which one would you rather have early? Get your hands on it? Tough.
Yeah, between those two, I want to say... I'm gonna say Pokemon, and I'm gonna say this for it actually has more to do with the fact that one of my favorite things about the Smash release cycle is the roller coaster ride that is who's getting announced next. And so if I like had an early build and I saw like the roster or whatever, like I would just lose that entire like hype cycle of just like, oh, who's next? Who's gonna get announced? What's gonna happen next? And so like I love that feeling so much. And so Pokemon, it's like, yeah, I could just see all the new Pokemon right away. That's fine. Like they're new designs. Cool. Like let me see all the new stuff. And does it like run at an okay frame rate?
Yeah, exactly.
Does it work?
There you go. Yeah. But that's a great point. There's no like Pokemon reveals and, directs and stuff. Smash Bros. Has the exciting parts. However, my answer is going to be Smash Bros. Because here's the thing, though. If I have the early build and I can see all of the new characters, and, and I have something no one else knows apart from the people who made the game, that's really cool. I think I would have it. I can give hints about it. I can be a Nintendo leaker now. I can write Reddit posts and everything. I have the early build, and then I'll be right, and everyone will look to me like I'm the greatest leaker of all time. I'm kidding. But, I think I just have more interest in Smash anyway. Pokemon's great. Yeah. But it's not always like been my number one, franchise or series or anything. Sure. I think I would just lean towards having Smash Bros. As an early build first. Mm-hmm. Next, Triple Pong asks, when Mario and Luigi Brothership came out, what was your first thought of the game at first glance when it got revealed? This was a fun moment. Starting off the direct with that kind of game, what was your first thought?
My first thought was, I cannot believe we're actually getting this many Mario RPGs in a row.
Yes.
Like across the series, right? Because it's like we got the Super Mario RPG remake, we got Thousand Door remastered remake, whatever term we want to use, and then we get Mario and Luigi revealed like right after that. Like the fact that we've had that many RPG titles back to back from first party Nintendo blows my mind. Like that was my first immediate thought. Yeah, like that was where my brain went immediately. And like also like it looks shiny. Like I actually have not played it yet, even though it has fully released by now. I'm playing catch up on a lot of things, but that is on my to-do list. I've heard a couple mixed things from people now that it's out, but I don't care. I'm excited for it still.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've played a little bit. I won't spoil anything. It's nice. Some flaws, but it's good overall. I think that you'll enjoy it. I have not beat it yet, but like so far it's pretty good. My first thought, where was I? I think I was just surprised that the first announcement, usually it's something that isn't, well, I shouldn't say usually, but a lot of the times it's not like a crazy announcement to kick things off. It's kind of like, that's cool for some people, but not me. When I saw Luigi, I believe was the first person shown in the trailer, I was like, wow, like this is, we're getting something here. When I saw Mario, I knew that it was Mario and Luigi. I was like, wow, it's making a return. I was just in awe of seeing it come back. I'm not, a deep-rooted Mario and Luigi fan, but it's always nice to see any sort of Mario game come out because at some point, I forget what timing it was, there were rumors circulating that Nintendo had forgotten about Mario and wasn't making any Mario games. So it's just nice to, of course not, right? But it's just nice to like see more Mario is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of course, those rumors were not true. I'm just like, that was like the thing. Like, where's Mario games?
Sure, for sure. Well, and what was nice about that one too is the fact that like the original dev is gone, right? Like, I mean, like there were parts of other teams announced stuff, but like Alpha Dream isn't a company anymore. So like that was the thing too with Mario and Luigi is that a lot of people were convinced that like that specific series was just dead in the ground because like the devs are gone. And there's been times before where that's true, and then other times they do hand the IP off to someone, and like that was, I think, a pleasant surprise for a lot of people to be like, oh no, they are sticking with this series. Like, awesome.
Fantastic. Envix Epic asks, what's better, Mario Odyssey or Mario 3D World? I think, they say, I think 3D World because I grew up with it. Well, that's some nostalgia playing in there. But Kevin, what do you think?
That's a tough one because they're they're both 3D different Marios in a sense, but they're also very different, right? Like, yeah, like Odyssey owes so much of its style to like the full blown 3D Marios with 64 and Galaxy and such, whereas Mario 3D is this kind of weird mid step, right? Where there's 3D elements, but it really is like a more traditional 2D Mario with like party aspects to it. I feel like if I'm just like on my own, probably Odyssey. I love
Yeah.
the multiplayer experience of Super Mario 3D World. Like, I think like having a group of friends, like that's something where that game shines a lot more. But if I'm just like, I'm gonna pick a Mario game to play right now out of the blue and maybe revisit some 3D ones, I'm leaning Odyssey.
It's so tough for me. I like your pick. Odyssey's great, but for me, it's tough because like I've never. So I played Odyssey. Obviously, I beat the game, but I have like no desire to replay it necessarily. I feel like Mario 3D World. I feel more of an attachment to. I just like things a lot better, and that might be the nostalgia speaking. I got it for Christmas in 2014 or 13. What a great time that was. I played it Christmas Day. This could be the nostalgia talking, but I think I just feel a little bit closer to 3D World. Of course, they're very different. I'm interested in the next 3D Mario game, but I think for this, I would choose 3D World over Odyssey. Odyssey's great though. I can't, knock it. Marybo asks, favorite Mario RPG like series? Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi. Which one?
That's tough because I love RPGs.
Yeah, it's tough too.
I have so much strong nostalgia for like just the original like collaboration with Square for Super Mario RPG, and we got that remade, and like I always loved Geno, and so like I have a very strong, but I also know that's like more nostalgia, right? Like if I freshly played, like if my very first time playing that game was with the Switch remake, and then I did that and like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door side by side, I'd probably like Thousand Year Door more. Like it's just it's a really freaking good game, and so like. I want to say Paper Mario in the vein of like the first two is probably my favorite, but it's hard for me to just not talk about like that's the problem too, right? We just have the one for like the original RPG. If they were working with Square and like did another one and like evolved that particular style of the formula in like a different direction than like Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi took with it, I would love to see that and see what that looks like. But as is, what we got, probably Paper Mario. The first two.
I think I'm the same. I think I am the same. I would go Paper Mario. Mario and Luigi's great, but I think I just like Paper Mario more. It's hard to like give real like specifics on what I like more. I guess it's just the style of the game. I don't really know. Yeah.
I think a big thing for me, especially with Paper Mario, is that like with RPGs, I'm really into like casts. Like I love the party and the characters and that kind of thing. And so what the first two Paper Mario games did really well that hasn't really hit in the later ones is that you have like those teammates and cohorts, right? And so seeing like Lady Bo and the different Koopas and like there's just like interesting characters that get to join you on this journey. And so like Mario and Luigi is great, but you're Mario and you're Luigi. I have played with Mario and Luigi in lots of games.
Yeah, exactly.
I have not had a lot of games where I get to have a party member like Parakarry or something, like there's a lot more like interesting big personalities. The same goes for Super Mario RPG where like we have Geno and Mallow, like there's original characters brought in, you get Bowser in the team, and like that to me just, I don't know, that's what really resonates with me in a lot of RPGs is having the party I play with. And so that's why I think Paper Mario, especially those older ones, just like hits right for me.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. Which one's your favorite? Out of the two Paper Mario, the first two games,
probably Thousand Year Door. Yeah, like
same.
I think
I'm the same.
Yeah, Paper Mario is like a really good. There's some stuff that I think got lost a little translation between Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door, but I think Paper Mario was a really nice like we're figuring out the direction we want to go with this RPG series if we're not working with Square anymore. Yeah. And then Thousand Year Door just built on all of that like so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was freaking perfect. If they were gonna bring any game to Switch, I'm glad it was that. That was a masterpiece. But our next I said Paper Mario. Cool. Our next question, some random person guy, what a name, asks, do you think Luigi's Mansion should be more scary?
I think it's fine as it is. I think of Nintendo like don't get me wrong, like Nintendo has had times where they like flirt with having scarier games, and we've had, those occasional either third-party exclusives or stuff like Eternal Darkness. Like they've messed with it. But I think especially if you're leveraging like the Mario IP, there's a certain baseline assumption of like this is very family friendly. Like this is meant to be family friendly. And so like, maybe there is a way to walk that balance of making it like a little scarier but still in that range. But But I don't know if I've ever like played Luigi's Mansion and gone like, I wish this. I need more jump scares. Like I need to be freaked out right now. Like I don't think I've had that vibe. Like it's horror themed. It's not a horror game.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if they want blood in Luigi's Mansion or what. I don't know. I think it's fine as is. Maybe you could make scarier music, but in terms of the gameplay, as you said, we want to keep this family friendly. It's a Mario series title. I think it's fine how it is. I think that they're doing a good job at balancing. Yeah, as you said, horror themed, not a horror game. If it was a horror game, we'd have a M-rated Luigi's Mansion, which just would not happen in any world. But our next question, I can't even read. Pixie Dust asks, I have a question. Out of all the Mario games on the Wii, second to last question, by the way, which one is your favorite? This includes spin-offs and backwards compatibility. So I guess they're including GameCube as well. Maybe let's stick to Wii, because if you include GameCube, you kind of go into Mario Sunshine and all that kind of stuff. Favorite Mario Wii game, mainline or not?
I mean, it's probably Galaxy, right? Like it's like I know Galaxy 2 is like better in a lot of ways, but there's something about having that experience the first time jumping into Galaxy where it's this whole new approach to doing the 3D thing. Because yeah, like again, love RPGs, and that wasn't like Super Paper Mario was really cool, but not for the same reasons that other Paper Mario games are. It's very different. It's got to be Galaxy, I think, off the top of my head. I'm probably going to realize later, I should have said Mario Kart or something, but like, yeah, it's probably Galaxy.
Did you play Galaxy like near launch, like when it came out kind of time? See, I didn't. And I feel like if you go back and play Galaxy, this could be a whole unpopular opinion. I feel like it doesn't have that same like mind-blowing effect. Like I imagine, I wasn't there, when you got Galaxy on the Wii, it was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, it's always such a weird thing to do, that battle between like nostalgia and like reality, right? Because I have that feeling sometimes with 64, where like I love a lot of the design elements of 64, but sometimes it is a headache to play when you go back. And like Galaxy, maybe I got to give it another fresh playthrough with fresh eyes and see how I feel about it. But the way because I didn't love Sunshine when it came out. I wasn't big on Sunshine when it released, and Galaxy clicked with me so much more. And I wasn't in the headspace at that time where I was like critically thinking about it, so I can't give you the best reasons why.
Sure.
But like I just resonated with me so much more. I think I loved the variety of how they messed with like gravity mechanics and just the entire concept of going through space, and like I don't know, it just clicked with me really well, and I really enjoyed my time with Galaxy.
For sure. For me, it's like the opposite. I feel like I didn't click with it, but I can tell it's a great game, but I feel like it didn't click with me. So I'm going to end up saying some random like Mario sports mix or something here. I mean, God, I have to think. I mean, I don't know if it's as good of a game as Galaxy, but my favorite personally that I clicked with and everything, I mean, it's a great game. I think I would have to go with New Super Mario Bros. Wii. I think that's where I'd have to land here. It's a great game.
Yeah.
But maybe not as impressive, potentially. That's the one that I clicked with most, that I played, when it was prime time. I feel like going back and playing Galaxy, like, I played it like 2 years ago. It didn't hit. Like, for me, it just didn't click or something. I played it on Switch.
Yeah.
Something about it. I don't know. But...
Yeah. And if you want actually like an outside weird one, the other thing my brain goes to is like Mario Strikers Charged.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
I wish I loved like the current Strikers as much as I enjoyed the first two. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Charged was such a good time in like just multiplayer games.
And now Mario Strikers Battle League has like no content. I mean, the gameplay is great, but like the series used to be a little bit better on the Wii and the GameCube. Which one's your favorite? GameCube for me is like. It's the first one, but it's like that's like the one.
Yeah, it is really good. I think I lean towards Charged a little bit, but I think that's also just the nostalgia of like when I was playing and who I was able to play with. Like I think I got more mileage out of Charged just for when it released, and like I was doing a lot more local multiplayer stuff during that era.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Final question, UTunes asks, what are the rarest Nintendo items you have? Ooh.
That's kind of tough because I don't think about rarity that often, to be honest. Like I just kind of, like I definitely have some old retro stuff that I have not double checked on where those are at now. Because like I bought a few things right before the retro market really began to get like bad, like circa like 2020 was when a lot of retro stuff got worse. So I mean, I've got like a couple Game & Watches. I've got like the TV Game 6, which was like their original home console before doing like the NES and stuff. One thing that I know is pretty rare, and I don't know if it's the rarest thing I have, but I know it's pretty rare, is I have the collector's edition for Fire Emblem Fates. And the reason why that's like a shiny thing to have on hand if you don't know the deal with that is that Fire Emblem Fates did this whole, they tried doing like a Pokemon thing where they had Conquest and what was the name of it actually? I can't even remember the other one right now. There was 2 different games you could buy that had different storylines, Conquest and Birthright. And then there was like a DLC third storyline called Revelations that was not great. But you had to buy the game separately, and then you could buy the other storyline paths as DLC if you wanted. The collector's edition, for whatever reason, came out with all of it on cart right away, which makes it especially a bigger deal now that the eShop's gone, because that's the only way to like freshly get that third route now. Like if you want to be able to play all that content, like if you got into Fire Emblem late and you want to play every story in that game, you have to track down that collector's edition cart because, or, you know, go through less legitimate means. But if we're sticking with like actually picking up real stuff, that's the only way to do it. And so I know that one shot up in value quite a bit because it has everything on the cart. No dealing with the eShop.
It's always a great feeling when like you buy something and a few years later it's like, wow, it's a rare thing. I've only had that happen to one thing. And it's not even Nintendo related, but it's a Switch game. I don't think I own anything rarer than what I'm about to say. It's not even that rare, to be honest. It's just like it went up to like $200 or so, or somewhere around there. Skylanders Imaginators for the Switch. I bought that at launch, not like launch day, but like a few weeks after the Switch came out. Now, I mean, that was like what, $60, $70. It's now worth $200 for just the cartridge. If you, I mean, like the box and everything,
Right.
Not just the cartridge, the
Like
box.
complete box.
If you want, if you want the figures, if you want that. Those actually probably aren't too hard to buy because those figures work on any like PlayStation. So, you know, those probably aren't too bad, but because they aren't like, you know, Switch exclusive.
Right.
That game's $200. I have no intent on selling it. I will keep it forever. Aside from that, I don't really have many rare things. I mean, I just have like games. I don't have like crazy collectibles. Maybe one day I'll have a story to tell. However, I will say this, and I pray nobody hates me. I remember one time coming across, a sealed, might have been like a Majora's Mask special edition or something to that effect. I have no idea. And it was like $10,000. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I can repeat the same thing with Tears of the Kingdom. So don't tell anybody and don't raid me, but I do have a sealed Tears of the Kingdom special edition that I will not sell until 2040. So don't do anything with that information, but I am hoarding that. Folks, that is it for the Mario Matter episode number 115. Kevin, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on the podcast. If there's anything that you want to, you know, promote your channel, any upcoming projects, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, again, thank you very much for having me here. If you guys aren't familiar with me, my name is Kevin Kenson. My channel, just that, Kevin Kenson. Right now, you know, honestly, we're kind of in a weird space where it's just all news and speculation. But the moment that Switch 2 finally releases, I have so many things I'm planning on doing with it. So, you know, come hang out, see what I'm putting up in the meantime, and get ready for that launch eventually.
For sure. Hopefully it's soon. Folks, I will see you all next Saturday with more Nintendo news and everything. 5 stars on the audio platform. Subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Adios.